It was a ghost base, a tiny horseshoe of sand and palm trees in the Philippine Sea, used primarily as a secret refueling station for submarines and long-range scouts. The island was so low that during a high tide, it felt like the ocean was trying to reclaim the runway. Chief Petty Officer Arthur R.T. Penelegon was the base's hydrophone operator. While other men looked at the sky for zeros, Artie spent his life in a concrete bunker 10 feet below the waterline, staring at a flickering screen and listening to the deep, haunting groans of the Pacific. To Artie, the ocean wasn't just water. It was a cathedral of sound, the rhythm of the deep. Life at Zulu 9 was a test of the senses. The air was a permanent mist of salt and humidity that rotted the leather of your boots in a week. The men lived in half-buried Quonset huts, their walls sweating with condensation. Because the base was a secret, they couldn't have large bonfires or loud music. They lived in a world of whispers. "What do you hear down there, Artie?" the base doctor would ask during his weekly checkups. "Is the ocean talking today?" Artie would adjust his heavy headphones and close his eyes. "It's singing, Doc. Schools of tuna, the clicking of shrimp, and the deep hum of the currents. But mostly, it's waiting. The shadow in the silence." One sweltering Wednesday afternoon, the sky turned a strange, sickly yellow, a sign of a coming typhoon. As the wind began to whip the palm fronds into a frenzy, Artie heard it. Thrum. THRUM ... thrum. It was a low-frequency vibration, almost too deep for the human ear. It wasn't the rhythmic beat of an American propeller. It was the jagged, uneven signature of a Japanese I-class submarine. And it wasn't alone. There were 3 of them, moving in a silent wolf pack formation toward the entrance of the lagoon. Artie grabbed the red phone. "Command, this is Hydro 1. We have company. 3 contacts, bearing 180. They're coming for the refueling docks." The silent duel the base went into dead silent mode. Engines were cut, and every man lay flat in the sand. But there was a problem. The primary sonar transmitter on the outer reef had been damaged by the rising storm waves. Without that transmitter, the base couldn't send a ping to alert a nearby U.S. destroyer group that was patrolling just over the horizon. "Artie, someone has to get to the reef shack and reset the relay manually," the commander said over the intercom. "But the tide is coming in, and the reef is already under 3 feet of water." Artie didn't hesitate. He was the only one who knew the delicate circuitry of the sonar. He strapped on a heavy diving belt and grabbed a waterproof toolkit. He stepped out of the bunker and into the crashing surf. The waves hit him like sledgehammers. He fought his way across the coral bridge, the sharp edges cutting his shins. The reef shack was a small concrete box at the end of the pier, now being battered by the rising storm. As he reached it, a massive wave swept him off his feet, dragging him toward the jagged coral. He grabbed a rusted iron rail, his muscles screaming, and pulled himself into the shack. Inside, the water was already waist-deep. Artie worked by the light of a fading flashlight. He found the shorted wire. As he reconnected it, a surge of electricity knocked him backward into the water. He gasped for air, his heart racing, but he reached up and flipped the master switch. The echo of victory. 10 miles away, the USS Reynolds picked up the sonar ping. It was the signature Zulu 9 had been waiting for. Within minutes, depth charges were being launched into the deep water outside the lagoon. Artie sat in the flooding shack, feeling the muffled thud-thud of the explosions through the floor. The wolf pack had been intercepted. The secret of Zulu 9 was safe. The morning calm. The typhoon passed as quickly as it had arrived. By dawn, the lagoon was a mirror of glass, reflecting a pale pink sky. Artie was found asleep on the roof of the reef shack, his hands raw and salt-encrusted, his toolkit still gripped tightly in his lap. He walked back to the mess hall, where the men were eating their breakfast in silence. The commander stood up, and handed Artie a fresh cup of real coffee, saved for special occasions. "You hear that, Artie?" the commander asked, gesturing toward the quiet ocean. Artie took a sip and closed his eyes. He didn't hear the engines or the sirens anymore. He heard the gentle lap of the waves and the morning birds. "I hear peace, sir," Artie whispered. For today, the ocean is just singing. The war would continue for many months, and Base Zulu 9 would eventually be reclaimed by the sand and the sea. But the men who served there never forgot the man who went into the storm to make sure the silence of the deep didn't turn into the silence of the grave.